Today I want to talk to you about something that we don't see very often in the tiny house movement anymore, and that's DIY tiny homes built by their owners. Hi, I'm Jenna, and I've been making tiny home tours on this channel for over 10 years, and I built my own tiny home back in 2014. So what has happened to the DIY aspect of the tiny house movement? Well, tiny homes have become more legal in more areas and more companies have decided to produce them. This is good and bad. Mainly good. It means there's more opportunities for people to live in tiny homes around the country. But what has happened is that there aren't as many DIY tiny home builds. And there are many reasons for that. There's a lot of gray area regarding tiny houses and legalities and parking, and I can go into depth about that probably in another video. But basically, if you build your own tiny home, it may not have the certifications that are required to park in certain areas, and you might find it more difficult to get insurance. But I think it's important that we remember the grassroots of the movement, and that's why today I've come up with a short list that features a huge variety of tiny homes, all built by their owners. And although we featured many handcrafted tiny homes on this channel, I think you'll see why I chose these 5 in particular. To start us off, we're gonna go back to about 10 years ago to one of the first tiny homes that I featured on this channel, which was Macy Miller's tiny home, which she built herself for a ridiculously low price tag. Now, this is one of the reasons tiny homes in the beginning were popular, because people could build them extremely cheap and live debt-free. Now, Macy originally built this tiny house for herself, but over time, her family grew. In fact, in this video, you'll see that she has 1 toddler and is pregnant with her 2nd child. So during the tour, she talked to us about how she expanded the space to meet her growing family needs. What kind of siding is this?
This is also free. There's 83 shipping pallets that I disassembled. That's one of those things that I wouldn't do again.
A lot of work there, a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
Yeah.
And I wish I didn't stain them. It looked so cool before I stained them because it was all variegated. But then I stained them to be uniform and they all turned uniform. So I set this wall back intentionally so you can still see that corner. It's weird if it changes materials on the same plane. So I set it back a little. It was worth the 3 inches.
Right. So Macy's house has morphed many times over the years, but it still remains one of the most budget-friendly tiny homes that we've ever featured on this channel. If I remember correctly, you were able to build this for pretty cheap, right?
Yeah, so the goal was 1 year's rent payments, and that was $10,000 to $12,000, and I built it for $11,416. I didn't know that would include all the appliances, and that included all of the appliances and everything too.
We're gonna introduce you to Mariah, one of our youngest DIYers, who built her own first home for just $12,000.
So I'm super excited to show you one of my favorite features of my tiny house, which is my custom welded door. So I actually made it using weld-on hinges and also some 2x4s for the handles, and just paneled it from there.
The inside of Mariah's tiny house really embraces the open concept, and she kept everything really minimalistic and clean, with the ability to fold away furniture and keep the space feeling, well, as large as 156 square feet can.
For my electrical, I decided to go with exposed conduit for a couple reasons. The first is because it allows me, to adapt it over time. If I ever need to add another receptacle, I can do that. And then also it just made more sense with a steel frame, so I wouldn't have to run wiring through the metal frame.
She used cabinet-grade plywood for her interior finishes, but the most commented on space in Mariah's tiny house was definitely her shower, and I think you'll see why.
So I really wanted my shower to feel modern and clean. So the roof of my shower is actually a custom skylight that I made using the polycarbonate. The great thing about this skylight is that it allows for this awesome natural light in my shower, and I can open it up for ventilation.
Next, for something a little bit different, I'm going to show you one of our most debated upon tiny home tours, and it happens to feature a DIY build. This video begs the question to be answered, how much is too much to spend on your tiny home? This luxury DIY build cost the owners $125,000 in materials alone. Now that's a lot for 300 square feet. So many people commented that that defeats the purpose of the tiny house movement, and I don't agree. $125,000 is still an affordable home in this country. And not to mention, this couple downsized from a 5,000 square foot mansion. I think that's the largest downsize that I've ever heard of. So I applaud the owners for building what they wanted, and they wanted high-end luxury.
We have a triple axle. The structure of this tiny house, we built it with steel framing, lightweight sheeting, saved about 3,000 pounds of weight. The design on the house, as you can see, really accommodates two sets of solar panels in sort of the angle in. That center portion acts as a deck for us. Probably one of the most distinctive features of the tiny house, and that's the window, wall, door combination. Having the ability to completely open up, it's really a 16 by 16 foot kitchen. The decking is about 7 by 13 feet. We actually store it underneath the trailer in sections. So we have brackets that we had the trailer manufacturer put on when we ordered it. So we put the sections in over here, and then we have stoppers on each side to secure them.
They designed the space to be multifunctional, off-grid, and they didn't skimp on amenities. What I especially love about this DIY tiny home is the innovation. This house might be the best in class when it comes to form meeting function, and I think everyone should watch this video, even if you don't have the same kind of budget, because it's a great video for inspiration.
One of the things that was key in our design was to have office space for us to both be working. This here is my working space. It's a standard stand-up working space. So I just pulled this out of the space, if you will. I have my mouse, I have my keyboard below, and then I use this screen for my daily work. This is also then used for a TV in the lounge area, so we can move it to the side. It will go up and will spin around, and then we will have the ability to watch movies or other things upstairs as well. Below here, we have the drawers for the wine. And then on the other side, similarly, we have the drawers for the glasses. I will take this table, I will pull it out, I will spin it around, and then I will lift it up, and I can secure it. And then we have a table leg that I can put underneath. And now I have a bar top. So now we can stand around talking with people who are cooking in the kitchen, and it's actually quite comfortable.
So what the last tiny house had in innovation and class, the next tiny house has in nostalgia and charm. From the circular hobbit door to the crazy welded ladder and the most original interior layout I've ever seen, this DIY tiny house was built by its owner on a moderate to mid-budget.
This tiny house was actually surprisingly affordable to build because I was able to construct my own chassis out of recycled steel. I constructed my own wall frames out of aluminum reclaimed box tube and used a lot of reject materials from mills. So I was able to build this for about $40,000, but the amount of labor that goes into that is absolutely uncalculatable.
This tiny house design is not your typical one, with a master bedroom plus 2 lofts, 3 decks, and 3 separate entrances. It's definitely unique. The inside is full of recycled materials that provide the home with a whimsical personality while still keeping focus on sustainability and affordability.
I enjoy creating pieces that have wow factor to them. We decided to go with the 7-foot circular hobbit door. We spiced it up with these really cool raw trees. I spent the extra time doing all this because I really wanted everything in here to be handmade, and I really wanted every place you looked to have something peculiar about it.
This is definitely one of the most detailed tiny homes that we've ever featured on this channel. And when I asked the homeowner and builder, Cass, why he decided to build a tiny home like this is how he answered.
It's just because I wanted to.
All right, the final home on our DIY tiny house spotlight is Patrick's tiny home, which he adapted from a tumbleweed design, but he made it his very own. This custom-built tiny house is off-grid, and like so many DIYers, Patrick took a lot of his inspiration from other DIY builders.
So I've been doing minor construction my entire life, but when it came to the tiny house, I watched a lot of YouTube videos. So I learned about framing, I learned about insulation and drywall, and I just took my time and it worked out well. At the time, there weren't companies building trailers for tiny houses. This was 2014. So I used a trailer which was called a car carrier, and that's what it's built on.
Patrick took his time with his tiny house design and build. In fact, it took him 10 years to perfect it. His home features a layout to maximize space with a large covered outdoor deck, a shed addition for utilities, a custom staircase, and self-built convertible furniture.
As far as cost, overall, I'm guessing that it came in under $30,000 because I did so much reclaimed wood and all the labor myself. My motto in building this was, I think I can do it. And it's just a matter of doing your homework and you can do it. It was fun.
I want to make sure that I'm being clear that I don't think all tiny homes should be DIY tiny homes, or that builders are bad, or that the manufacturing of tiny homes is a bad thing. I think making tiny homes available to everyone is the ultimate goal. That being said, I do love self-built tiny homes, and I think it's important that we remember the grassroots of the movement. Thanks for coming along with me on memory lane as we looked at a bunch of DIY tiny houses. If you'd like to see the full tours of any of these videos, we have them linked in the description, but I think we're going to be doing a few more of these. So if you'd like to see something in particular, such as the most affordable tiny homes, the most luxury tiny homes, go ahead and comment your ideas in the description.